Alex actually mentioned the word overbooking, so we're going to go back to Real Madrid because there seems to be quite the overbooking in the midfield at the moment. Just taking a look at how it stands right now with regards to Real Madrid midfielders next season. Following on from Arda Güler's signing with Real Madrid, Federico Valverde has been linked with Liverpool. Liverpool reported to be preparing to submit a new proposal for the player. What's the talk here then of what's going to happen with all these midfielders, Alex?
Well, just look at the numbers. There are 8 midfielders on that list there, and that's too many. You don't need 8 midfielders in your first team squad. You need 6 or 7 at a push. Now, they've got into this situation because they offered contract renewals to Luka Modric, to Toni Kroos, Dani Ceballos. All 3 of them ended up accepting. All 3 of them ended up staying. I don't think Real Madrid expected all 3 of them to still be here next season. They brought in Bellingham. They brought in Güler now, as you say. We're not sure exactly where Güler's going to play, but let's say that we're counting him as a midfielder for now. It leaves them with too many midfielders. And so you're looking at, well, who could go? It's not going to be any of the players who've just agreed new contracts. It's not going to be the players they've just brought in. You're looking at players like Tchouaméni and like Federico Valverde. Now, Tchouaméni, I don't think Madrid ideally would like to see him go. They only brought him in a year ago for a lot of money. Yes, he didn't have quite the season everyone expected, dropped off a lot in the second half of the season. But he's a player that you could look to bring in. If you want to bring in money, you could bring in big money for Tchouaméni. And Valverde is the other one who's a really exciting player. We were talking about him before the World Cup. I get the feeling that Madrid, I think, would consider it. And he's a sort of player with his qualities that you can see doing really well in the Premier League as well.
Oh, what a player Liverpool could be getting there, Stevie, and Valverde. You look sceptical.
Well, listen, Valverde's not getting let go from Real Madrid because he's that great. You know what I mean? If Real Madrid are prepared to let him go, it tells you that they don't think he's the future, right? Liverpool have just signed McAllister and Szoboszlai, and they already have Fabinho. Henderson still around for another year. You've got Curtis Jones and Elliott, 2 young guys, particularly Elliott, who will play.
Valverde's a fighter, he's versatile, he's had all that experience.
Well, why are they letting him go then if he's that great?
So you don't want him?
Does he start? Does he start before Szoboszlai? No. Does he start before McAllister? No. So if you're Valverde, you're going to be thinking all that as well. You got Thiago there, Thiago's still there. So if I'm Valverde, I'm thinking, hold on. Number one, they're prepared to let me go. And then 2, do I start? Listen, Valverde has had a great first part of the season last year and is a good player, yes. But why are they letting him go? That's the question.
Frank?
Yes, why they let him go? Because I think he's a hell of a player. I don't understand. If Real Madrid would just go Jude Bellingham, according to Alex, they want to get rid of Aurelien Tchouaméni or Valverde. I don't get it. I thought Valverde is a stunning player, he's a fantastic player, and I'm sorry, Stevie, I think he's ahead of maybe McAllister, but certainly ahead of Thiago. And I would love to see Valverde playing for Liverpool, and Liverpool would be very happy. But I don't understand Real Madrid ready to get rid of him. That guy could be crucial to the midfield that they have. If you count of Toni Kroos and Modric again at their age to hold the midfield zone, the middle of the park, they go wrong. I think they really go wrong. Valverde showed his consistency, his power as a midfielder last season, playing, as we saw, 52 games, scoring 12 goals, 7 assists, being the future, not only the present, but the future of Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid are doing something wrong, are making a mistake, because that guy can be the future of Real Madrid with Tchouaméni, with Jude Bellingham. Toni Kroos and Modric, with all due respect and all really big respect, they don't represent the future. They don't even represent, I think, the present of Real Madrid. So I'm very surprised to see Valverde being released by Real Madrid. Very, very surprised.
Let me make it clear. I'm kind of with Frank. I thought he was the future. But the fact that we're talking about he's one they might let go, that's where my concern comes in. Because there has to be something we don't know.
So how has it come to this, Alex? Because obviously we've just seen the number of midfielders there are. You talked about these contract extensions for these older players and obviously Dani Ceballos as well. But would there be a feeling and an element of surprise as well among the Madridistas to see Fede Valverde go?
Yeah, for sure. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that Madrid are desperate to get rid of either of these players, Tchouaméni or Valverde. They're two fantastic young players and they do represent the future, absolutely. But you've got to look at the squad right now, the circumstances that they're in, and the fact they've got all these players. One, these players aren't going to get enough minutes. You can't distribute the minutes between 8 midfielders, really, and keep them happy over the course of the season, even if Ancelotti is very good at keeping multiple players happy and sharing the game time around. And otherwise, these are players that want to feel important. And don't forget that Madrid spent big on Bellingham. We're talking about them maybe spending really big on Mbappe, that collectively those two, just in transfer fees alone, could be 300 million euros. Even Real Madrid have got to bring in money from somewhere. And where can you do that? You'd be looking at a player with a big market value, like Valverde, like Tchouaméni. Like I say, they're not trying to get rid of these players. They're not. It's not they don't rate these players. They do rate these players. That's why they brought Tchouaméni in a year ago, and that's why Valverde has had all the minutes that he's had over the last couple of years and become such an exciting player. But if you've got to be realistic and you've got a plan and look at your squad and look at which players are going to play and how many minutes they're going to get and where you can get some money from as well if you want to bring some money in, these are two players that you might well look at and say, yes, there's a market there. Because they're really exciting young players, there's a big market there and you could maybe bring in some big money as well.
Not a very good plan, is it? Getting rid of selling Valverde, Tchouaméni, the future of your club, and you're keeping 2 old geezers.
But not for much longer.
With all due respect, 2 old geezers, and Toni Kroos and Modric, who this time next year won't be there. Doesn't seem like a very sensible plan to me.
Well,
Dani Ceballos ain't going anywhere. Nobody's buying him. So they're stuck with the 8 then.
We'll see how it all plays out. When it comes to plans, we also heard this week that Gareth Bale's plan when he's a Real Madrid player was to be a Galactico when he was on the pitch and then just to go and enjoy his life privately off the pitch. Speaking to Henry Winter of The Times, he said, "You sign as a Galactico and they expect you to be everywhere, do everything. And I was the opposite. I just wanted to play my football and then disappear back into the darkness. I could speak Spanish and I wouldn't want to because I just wanted to keep everything private and quiet and not have this big fuss around me. Maybe that's why they attacked me, because I never really give a lot. They probably just didn't understand me as a person. There were some hard times when you feel very lonely, when everybody gets on your back and you're getting whistled and booed, especially the first time. I was quite young, 24, and didn't know how to deal with all this pressure and expectation." It's interesting to see this interview as well. That, I mean, to his credit, all he wanted to do was go and play for this huge club, biggest club in the world, be a Galactico, but then when he's away from the pitch, away from the club, to just enjoy his life quietly. Is that naive?
I think that's called professional. I don't have a problem with that at all. I mean, that seems to me if I'm an owner, if I'm the coach, if I'm involved in the club, I want my best players to turn up, produce, and then go home and just have a nice quiet time. I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why they would get on his back, particularly when he's only 24, as he said. To me, he's gone about it the right way. He didn't, as far as I know, he didn't snub anybody. He just didn't want to say an awful lot. What's wrong with that? That shouldn't get the fans on your back. The fans, if you're producing on the field, then why are the fans getting on his back? That makes no sense. For some reason, they didn't take to him. And I'd love to know what it is. But it can't be because he just went home and stayed in the house.
You had to explain everything. Before the game, after the game, and every day of the week you had the press, where in England it's not that way. It's once a week and you're quiet and you live your life. Even if you have the tabloids, you don't seem to be bothered by the media. They don't chase you. In France, in Spain, or in Italy, they want to know everything. They want to be into your life, into your private life, and they want to know better, and they want you to share that. I remember Nicolas Anelka signing for Real Madrid, saying that he had to hide in his car trunk because he wanted to go to a mega store to get some CDs, because they wanted to know where he was going. So that's another life. That's another culture. And Gareth didn't get that. And I'm completely defending him. That's not the life. It's why I went to England, because I wanted to have another life. I wanted to have a quieter life. But he should have been aware where he was putting his feet in.
It is interesting, even as a journalist, right, Alex, when you land in Madrid, maybe you don't know, and you just see that there's these two dedicated sports dailies going on every single day with everything that's going on in and around the club. Do you think that that was just all a bit too much for Gareth in the end?
Yeah, look, I'm not going to criticise Gareth Bale for living his life exactly how he wants to live it. That's his right. But I think it's fair to say that maybe you have to play the game a little bit with the Madrid media. You have to be willing to give a little bit, and you make your life much easier if you do that. The other thing that I think we have to remember is that Gareth Bale, when he first joined Madrid, was hugely popular. Yes, there was a lot of pressure because it was a massive transfer fee. There was a feeling that this is the next Cristiano Ronaldo, but Gareth Bale delivered, especially in those early years. Think about that incredible goal he scored in the Copa del Rey final 2014. Think about scoring the Champions League final that same year. It was only later on when the injuries started to add up and he played fewer and fewer games, certainly in La Liga and certainly starting games. And there was kind of a growing feeling that maybe he wasn't prioritising Real Madrid, that he was more concerned about playing for Wales. And I don't think he always helped himself either in some of the things that he did say when he occasionally did come out and speak, and some of the things that he did. And of course, the real nadir came with that infamous Wales goal for Madrid in that order flag, which was a joke, and it wasn't even his joke, it was his teammates' joke, but it all he got caught up in it, and none of that helped. But it was a process, and it sort of deteriorated over time, and it got that relationship between him and the fans got worse over time, to the point that for the last few years, whenever he played at the Bernabeu, he was whistled, and that was really sad to see, because this was a guy who won so many trophies for Real Madrid, scored some incredibly important goals, some of the best goals we've ever seen from a Real Madrid player in cup finals, in huge games. And it was really unfortunate the way it ended. But I do think that if he'd maybe been, and it's up to him, it's fine, but if he'd been a little bit more savvy, like I say, and played the game a little bit more with the media, you don't have to do too much, but just do a little bit, just to try and help yourself out in a PR sense, that might have made a difference. But that's not something that he wanted to do.
Because maybe doing a little bit, you'd get left alone more.
Yeah, but why are they booing him when he's 24 years old? I understand the last few years.
Well,
I understand.
And I was part.
Listen, we sat here and criticised him, and I criticised him because I didn't like the way he was going about it. But he's talking about when he was 24 and he's getting booed and he's producing on the field. I mean, you can't tell me that fans are going to boo a guy because they don't speak to the press. I understand the press getting after him. If he doesn't speak to them and they decide, well, you know what, if you're not going to speak to us, then we're not going to help you. But I don't understand. What kind of culture, what kind of fan culture, when a guy is producing on the field will boo their own player, supposedly because he doesn't talk in the press? I mean, what sort of culture is that? I don't get it. That makes no sense. 24-year-old producing on the field, and the fans are booing them. Somebody please explain why that's a good thing, and why it's the culture.
It's the Bernabeu, and big-name players have been booed for many a reason. That's just how they are at that stadium. That's right, isn't it, Alex?
Stevie, maybe it's not about it's not about Bale. It's about the media trying to find something and giving something for the fans to eat on Bale. And maybe what they were putting out hasn't been appreciated by the fans. That's maybe the story of it. Maybe some lies, maybe not lies, but maybe supposition of what Gareth Bale was doing, what he was thinking, the fact he wasn't committed to the club because he wasn't speaking Spanish, and pushing the things to show that they were resentful towards his behavior, and shared it in the press. Therefore, the fans read it and started to be upset with him for fake reasons, false reasons. That's unfair. I'm completely with you. I think it was stupid to boo him while he was producing and just going back to his house. But that's what it is. If the media don't get what they want, they're going to start imagining some stories. That's how it works.
And then on top of that, it isn't an easy fan group to please, Alex.
Yeah, and I've got to say as well, I thought there's a little bit of rewriting of history from Bale here. Now, I could be wrong, But I don't remember him being whistled, and I was at pretty much all of these games at the Bernabeu. I don't remember him being whistled at the Bernabeu in the first 5 years of his time at Real Madrid. In the second half, the last 5 years, yes, I remember it because, like I say, that's when the injuries started to mount up. But I don't remember him being whistled. I mean, he mentions this 24 years of age thing. I guess that's when he joined, right? But I don't remember him being whistled in 2014, 2015, 2016 because he was playing and he was being really important and he was scoring goals and he was winning Real Madrid Champions Leagues and leagues and cups. So I know that's what he has said in this interview, but I feel like that's not entirely accurate. I think the whistling came much later when he wasn't performing or simply wasn't playing because he wasn't available because he had these real problems with injuries. And then all this other stuff piled up on top of that as well. Like I say, the alleged lack of commitment or the lack of dedication to Madrid and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like earlier on in his career, I might be wrong, but I don't remember that whistling taking place earlier on.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.